We are almost 2 years into a war here in Eretz Yisrael, in Gaza. Ad kedei kach that I think some people are starting to forget that we have our soldiers still over the lines over there in very dangerous areas. And I wanted to speak about specifically people that are known as the Miluikim. The Miluim are the ones who are married men. They're in their 30s, their 40s, even some are in their mid-40s, have a number of children, already have jobs, have a life that they're set on, and they're going back and serving, and some have served the whole entire year and a half. I want to report to you, when I heard from the wife of one of these Miluim, that she actually wrote a book about this whole experience of all the wives of these people, of these people who are in the Miluim, that they're going ahead and serving this whole entire time. That she said a few months ago, after not seeing him for close to a year, he came home for 24 hours. He came home for a whopping 24 hours. What do you think the first thing that he did when he came home? After giving the hugs and kisses, you know what happened? First thing, after seeing his family, he wrote a will, a tzava. That's what he did. Because these are people that when they wake up in the morning and say, Moide ani lefanecha, they don't know if they're going to have the opportunity to go to sleep and say Shema Yisrael at the same time. When we wake up in the morning, we wake up with a certain confidence that things are okay. We go up to business as usual. Shiurim are continuing, everybody with their own subjects. But we're forgetting that there are people over there that have wills that are written because they don't know what's going to be tomorrow. You take one wrong step in the wrong direction and you bump into some explosive trap. You go ahead and look in the wrong direction, you get ambushed by something that you completely did not expect. And again, I want to mention, we're not only discussing teenagers or youngsters, which obviously that's also an incredible loss, but we're talking about people with proper lives and they're willing to go ahead and give it all up in order to fight for Klal Yisrael, in order to fight to protect us and fight for all of Klal Yisrael. Now, what's incredible about this point that I'm trying to get out is in the process of speaking about this whole entire idea, there was a whole discussion with many of these people who are on the front lines, these Miluim people, and you would be absolutely shocked at the tremendous anticipation that they have for going ahead and going and fighting the war. The excitement, the vigor. Of course, we were all full of this incredible vigor to go ahead and conquer and get rid of these Rishayim that are standing on the other side of the line over there in Gaza. But still at this stage to go ahead and free those hostages. In this stage to go ahead and wipe out these Rishayim, this Satan from off the planet. Their excitement is still there and has remained that way, and they're willing to be Moser Nefesh for it. Ad kedei kach that it was titled, this whole idea, this whole discussion, as people addicted Mechurim to Miluim, people that were addicted to being in the Miluim. They were interested and they were going and fighting the cause because they know it's a real cause. And I want to ask and figure out, where does this come from? Now, of course, we know where this incredible power comes from, this interest. And like I said, when we're far away, especially if we're farther across the ocean, so it's an intellectual idea, remembrance. We try to remember, don't forget those soldiers. But we don't realize that they're sitting in the crux of absolute danger, not knowing what's going to be tomorrow. Where does this come from, this incredible Mesiras Nefesh that they have? And I want to contrast immediately and point out, of course, that when the Arabs go ahead and kill themselves, if you don't mind me saying so, it comes from a place of meaninglessness. They don't have much to live for, and they're told that when they go, they're going to get some type of physical desire, which they're not getting right now, Rahman al-Islan. To think of the shallow understanding of the way these people live. But we're coming from people, and especially I took people like this, that have a life, that love life, that want to live life, that want to have a family, that want to go ahead and be mitparnes, they want to go ahead and learn, some of them. They all have something to live for the morrow, and still they're willing to go ahead and do it. Where does it come from? I don't have to go over the history, but I'm going to kick a quick fix of how we've seen this Mesiras Nefesh over all the generations. One of the classics are during the time of the Holocaust in the Shoah, there were 93 Beis Yaakov girls that actually were captured by the Nazis. There were girls together with some of the teachers that were captured by some of the Nazis, and they realized that they weren't being taken just to be gassed. They were going to be taken advantage of. They were interested in doing things that were abhorrible, and as a result of that, they went and took away their lives. They all swallowed pills they all swallowed poison in order to kill themselves, in order to avoid this. Ad kedei kach, they were willing to do it in order to avoid. They learned the lesson from the Gemara in Gittin, which Tassa brings in Gittin Nun Zayin, of the 400 boys and girls that were taken on a ship, and when they realized what they were being taken for, the girls jumped overboard. Just think about it when you're on a boat in the city in the middle of the ocean to jump overboard. It's much easier to talk about, crazy to think about. To think about actually doing such a thing, tossing and turning in the waves until Lo aleinu v'lo alechem, we all know what happens. The boys saw what the girls did and they said, if that's what they're doing, and the girls, darken bekach, it was a normal phenomenon for us, for what they're going to do to us is even worse, and they also jumped overboard. This is the koach of Klal Yisrael over the generations to be do it. If we talked about the Churban or the Shoah or the Holocaust, of course, we also know in the Gezeres Slav during the Crusades, when the wicked Christians, who were much worse than the Arabs, by the way, just don't forget about that, when they were going ahead and killing and torturing, there were incredible amount of stories of whole cities, Magensia and others, that actually went and took away their lives of themselves and their children in order to avoid being given to this avodah zarah. Many kinot that are said on Tisha B'Av, Amar Tishu Mini Bebechi, Hitra'eh Mimeni Ve'adabera, and other kinot that are said are over during the times of the Crusades, that we went ahead and gave up our lives for this matter. You should know it's a Kabbalah. The Divrei Torah brings there's a Kabbalah from the Baalei Tosfot. Tosfot are the Pirush on the Gemara on the side. And we have a tremendous bunch of Torah given by the Baalei Tosfot, and there many, even maybe the majority, were killed during the time of the Crusades. And when they were in jail waiting for their sentence to be brought out, they were going to be killed soon afterwards, they wrote Perek Meruba. We have a Kabbalah that's when they built the 7th Perek of Baba Kama, which are the biggest Tosasim and the most intriguing, intrinsic, and most Mechudash Bepulpalim that we have almost in Shas. Baalei Tosfot wrote that right before they were being taken to the Slav, right before being taken to be killed, to be burnt at the stake, to be hung up on a cross, or whatever they were being taken for. They did that in an incredible gesture of Mesirut Nefesh, which our religion is oh so familiar with. The Vilna Gaon testified about the Duk Mipertochev, they're known as the Ger Hatzedek, when he was cut and was being taken to the stake to be burnt. He said when he died, the Vilna Gaon Bechvoide Be'atzboy, who said, I want to be buried next to the ashes of the Duke. I want to be buried next to the ashes of the Ger Hatzedek because it's Tzadik Gamor. He said when the Ger Hatzedek died, he lowered Tumah in the whole entire world. The level of the Sitra Achar went down in the mid-1700s when he got killed, and that's why we're a little bit more lenient sometimes. So one of the reasons about Netilat Yadayim immediately in the Borka, we're supposed to do as soon as possible. But one of the reasons to be more lenient is because we live after the Ger Tzedek, when he was Moser Nefesh al Kiddush Hashem. Incredible. The incredible Mesirat Nefesh that Klal Yisrael has for a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Where does it come from? Where's the secret? Where do we do to get there? How do these people get to such a place that they're willing to do it? I know you've heard shirim on Mesirat Nefesh, but sometimes think about it when you're there. When you're sitting on a cruise boat, look and stand at the edge and go, would I jump? Would I really jump? When you're standing, and I do this by the Pesach matzot, when we're making the matzot right before Pesach, I stand next to one of those ovens, and those ovens are hot. It's pure fire from wood ovens, not like the ones you have in your house. Stand close, you can't even get next to it. Would you pull that off and jump in the fire in order to avoid bowing down to Rachmana on a cross or something of the sort? Would you do that? Think about it. Where does it come from? So we end with the most important of the piece, and that is one of the greatest of people who gave up their lives and did it with glee, did it with a smile, and that is Rebbe Akiva, the man of Sfirata Omer. He is the one who retaught the 5 Talmidim real during the time of Rebbe Akiva, is the man of the hour during this time period of Sfirat HaOmer, including Lag BaOmer. And we all know what the Gemara brings down, that when Turnus Rufus go ahead and put him on the stake, and it says over there in the Yerushalmi, Tosfos brings it in Sotan Lamed Aleph, it says that he was smiling, he was happy right before Kriyat Shema. And he says, what are you? Are you a sorcerer, a mechashef, or are you just a stam sadist? Or are you stam a bal yisurim? What's with you? What's the matter with you? So Rabbi Akiva said, no, I'm not this and this. He says, neither. Rather, I see myself in the lap shel tzadikim, in the chekem shel tzadikim. I see myself already embraced by the tzadikim that are standing in front of me. What is the meaning of this statement? And this is an incredible yesod. You have to get this well. And I saw this once by Rav Galinsky. This incredible idea. Rabbi Akiva didn't see the future. He didn't see something as something we call Olam Haba. He saw the present, but the whole future he saw in front of his eyes right now. If I know there's Olam Haba, I'm like praying, Hashem, I'll be there, and Hashem, please give me Olam Haba, and I do it with tears and wanting and a yearning to get there. But if I feel Olam Haba right now, then I laugh. Rabbi Akiva was able to laugh, to smile, to be happy, even in the clinches, even in the depths of a fire, because right now he saw the tzaddikim. Right now he was standing in the bosom of Olam Haba. He was surrounded by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He saw the Ziva Shechina in front of his face, even at the time, because it wasn't something in the future, it was something in the present. How did he reach such a level? Because he lived his life by this amamano. This was his life. This was his life goal. This is the way he lived. From the beginning of his life, that's all he did. As we all know, when he learned the Aleph Bet, right, from 40 years old, he was able to pull himself up from sitting in a classroom with young children. And how was he able to do it? Everybody knows the famous Maaseh with the rock and the drops of water that were dripping on top of the rock until he saw it made a hole. And he said, if it can make a hole in the rock, it can make a hole in my heart. What's the pshat? Very nice. It's a nice mashal. You know, you can go up on a good Torah anytime, shir. But how is he be able to make a change, to actually go ahead and do it and pull over and 24 years straight without any break to be able to do it just from a rock? Because he saw the future in the present. He saw right now the hole in his heart. He saw the metamorphosis in the present. He didn't see it in the future. He saw it right now. Everything, and that's how he always was. When he told his incredible wife Rachel that if I had the money, I would buy you a Yerushalayim Shel Zahav. I would buy you a beautiful pennant on top of a crown on top of your head, because you are the incredible queen that is supporting me. You know, many husbands say that, but do they really mean it? Come on, you know, like I will say, I always tell my wife when we walk into a jewelry store, this is all yours. Just make sure to put it back when you're finished. Very nice. We feel very present and try to be very, you know, as they say, mefargen, to be nice and try to sound big. But Rabbi Akiva felt it right now. If I had the money, and eventually he did buy it for her, I'm going to give you everything in the present. He lived not with Amunah, not even with Amunah. The Amunah became a part of the present. It was living it in the Sechel, and it made a change. And if you go through all the Gemara that describe Rabbi Akiva, it's the same theme. Everybody knows the Gemara in the end of Makot, of course, where they saw all the Rabbanim over there, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Gamliel, they all saw the Shualim, the foxes going out of the Beit HaMikdash, and they said, oh, a place where no one was allowed to walk into, the Kodesh Kodashim, and now foxes are around there. And they heard the Romans who were calling away and were crying out in the fire, and they were all crying, and Rabbi Akiva was laughing. Look, I understand, don't rub it in. What are you laughing about? I understand that you want to say you're not crying, but why laughing? Because Rabbi Akiva said that the same psukim which described the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash is where it says immediately afterwards, "Achshav ye'od yeshu zekenim u'zekenot berchovot Yerushalayim." He saw in the ashes of the Beit HaMikdash, he saw the zekenim that were sitting there now. He wasn't just intellectually understanding we're going to get there, B'ezrat Hashem, one day with tears in his eyes and a passion and giving over a good drasha and a shir speaking about it. He was living. He saw the zekenim and zekenot. He saw the elderly people and the kids playing over there. He saw the built on the ruins, on the ashes of the Beit HaMikdash. He presently was able to see everything that was standing on top of it. When he saw those foxes that the Rabbanim were crying about, he said, no, I actually see the people who are in place of those foxes. He physically saw it. And that's why it wasn't just he was able to say, don't worry, it's going to be okay, give a pat on the back, give a little bit of empathy and we'll be all right. It was a feeling of laughing, of tzchok. The Gemara says he laughed, he was smiling, he was enjoying himself. It was incredible. And that's what they said immediately after. Akiva nichamtanu, Akiva nichamtanu. It doesn't say to Nechem that you will give us nechama in the future. Now you gave us nechama. We see it now. You're teaching us to look and see it in the present, not to see it as afterwards. The Gemara in Brachot, the famous Gemara in Daf Samech, everybody knows the Gemara with Rabbi Akiva that says, "La'olam ya'adam ragil lamar kol da'avid rachmana l'tav avid." You should always see the good in everything. We know the mice over there. He had a candle, he had a chicken, he had a donkey. They all died, and as a result of that, he ended up getting saved because there were a bunch of bandits that were around, and they weren't able to spot Rabbi Akiva. And that's what he tells us. La'olam, always remember this klal that I'm telling you, to always understand that there's good in the future, because if you realize that the future is good, you'll appreciate it in the present. Right now, you'll be satisfied. It's not that you'll be itching and I'll do it, I can get there. No, he was content right now. He was completely in a state of bliss presently. It wasn't something about the future, it was something about the present. That's the incredible level of Rabbi Akiva, the Gemara Baba Batra. On Daf Yud, went to an Reservists again. That evil man who was out to get Rabbi Akiva asked him, if Hashem loves your poor people, then what's the problem? Why are they poor? Why can't he give them why can't he flip them a bill? Why can't he give them a little bit of money? And Rabbi Akiva answered him so succinctly. He said, in order to take the Ashirim out of Gehenna. He saw the Totza'ah in order to help the Ashirim, the rich people that take care of the Anim, in order to help them out. He saw what's going to happen to them presently. He saw that the Ani is happy right now with his situation. The poor person is happy with the situation because he's going to have a tremendous amount of schutim, a tremendous amount of merit, because he's getting other people to the highest of levels. And lastly, another Gemara in Sanhedrin on Kuf Aleph, when the Rabbi Eliezer, was on his deathbed, and all the Talmidim were crying. In the beginning, in the first Gemara, it says he was sick, and he had Yisurim, he was going through tremendous pain, and his Talmidim couldn't look at him anymore, and they were having so much trouble seeing it. Rabbi Akiva did it again. He laughed. Mitzachek. Come on, there's a gvul, there's a limit to everything. Your Rebbe's in pain, he's in anguish. What are you laughing about? How can you do that? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. But you know what Rabbi Akiva said over there? They said, why are we crying? He said, why are you crying? He said, because we see a Sefer Torah that's burning in front of us. And he says, and that's why I'm happy, because I see all the olam haba this man is about to get. Until now, it could be everything was pleasant and fantastic for him. Who knows what's in store for him upstairs? But now when I see such an incredible person and he's going through this type of tzar, wow, this is fantastic. Think about where he's going to be getting to. In other words, I don't think we can do this, and I don't recommend when you start going to a Shiva house to start laughing. Do me a favor. Or when you start doing Bikur Cholim to start giving a little bit of a chuckle. That's not what's recommended. Unless you're Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva now saw what this man, what Rabbi Eliezer was in store for. When they were busy telling Rabbi Eliezer, as the Gemara continues, and they were saying, you're like our parents, you're like the sun, you're like the moon, you're so fantastic, Rabbi Eliezer, you saved us, you're the best. Rabbi Akiva's statement was, Chavivin Yisurim. So fantastic are Yisurim, because he says, because the Yisurim, I know that you're going to be able to get to the highest places. It's going to lead you to places that you could never have gone before. And Rabbi Akiva was consistent, because when he was going through Yisurim, he smiled, and he ended up with Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Why Shema Yisrael? Echad. Why did he end with Echad? Why is he the motto of Echad? Because he saw the past, present, and future all in one gush. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not bound by time, he's not limited by time, and a person who lives with the Echad of Hashem is so happy. He sees everything, he sees the success, he's willing to give up everything with a smile. These are our Meluikim, these are the ones who are over the lines in Gaza, and even though they've been going through very treacherous and intrepid and difficult times, but they're willing to be Moser Nefesh just like we've done for many generations for one time. Because we all know that what we're getting in the future is here in the present. We see it with a glee in our eyes. We can see it ever presently in front of us. The fantastic beauty of a Kadosh Baruch Hu standing there and us all chanting and pointing to Kadosh Baruch Hu in the middle of the circle, and all together we all say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. It should come soon. Bezrat Hashem b'mirav yameinu. Amen.